Welcome to Guilty Pleasure Stories channel that we hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. 3 years ago, everything I knew, everything I loved was gone in an instant. Losing Michael felt like losing the best part of myself. 21 years of love, laughter, and partnership. It's not something you just move on from. I thought I was strong. I thought I could handle the silence that came after. But I wasn't ready for how lonely it would be. It's not just about the empty house. It's the mornings where there's no one to share coffee with. The nights where the bed feels too big and cold. The little moments like hearing a joke and turning to laugh with him, only to remember he's not there. It's like losing him all over again every day. And then Hudson moved in, my nephew Michael's side of the family. I hadn't seen him much over the years, just holidays and the occasional visit. He was always such a kind soul, though a gentle, caring presence. When he moved into the house, it wasn't just for him. It was for both of us. What started as a way to help him out turned into something I didn't expect. At first it was comforting having someone around, someone to fill the silence. But the way he looked at me, it was different. He didn't just see a grieving widow. He saw me, the real me, and for the first time in years I felt alive again. Hudson Calhoun, my nephew by marriage, was more than just extended family. I remember him as a little boy, full of life and curiosity, running through our house during the holidays. He always felt at home here, and Michael, my husband, treated him like the son we never had. Hudson's life wasn't easy. He lost his parents when he was just a child. Boarding school became his second home, but during breaks he was always with us. We made sure he felt loved, part of something bigger than the pain he'd endured. I remember baking cookies with him in the kitchen, playing board games late into the night. Those memories are etched into my heart. When he moved in last year, it felt so natural. He was family after all. And I knew how lonely he must have been. I didn't realize how much I needed him too. The first few weeks were filled with mundane things, fixing up his room, sorting out schedules, and sharing meals. But there was something comforting about having him there. We started spending more time together. Dinners turned into long conversations. Late nights were spent watching old shows we both loved. And as the days passed, I noticed things I hadn't before: his kindness, his quiet strength, the way he seemed to truly see me. At first I brushed it off. It was probably just my imagination. We were close, that was all. But then something shifted. The way he looked at me, the way he spoke, it was different. There was a warmth, an intensity that caught me off guard, and I couldn't deny the way it made me feel. We were three people, both lost in our own ways, finding solace in each other, and as strange as it might seem, it felt right. Hudson has this way about him. Charming, confident, and deeply caring, with a warmth that draws you in without even trying. At first it was the little things, compliments here and there. Things like, "You look beautiful today," or "You've got such a light about you." I didn't think much of it. I chalked it up to kindness, a natural affection between family members who shared a bond. Then there were the moments when his hand would linger just a second. Too long, a brush of fingertips against mine as he handed me a plate. A touch on my shoulder that sent a shiver down my spine. I told myself it was innocent, that it was just him being sweet. But deep down I began to feel something shift. It wasn't just his actions. It was how I felt about them, the way my heart would race when he walked into the room. The way I'd catch myself looking at him, not as the boy I'd helped raise, but as a man who made me feel, noticed, desired. Then came the teasing. He'd make little jokes, calling me trouble with a smirk that made my cheeks flush. He'd playfully steal the last bite of dessert or nudge me with his elbow during a movie, laughing when I pretended to be annoyed. His laughter was infectious, and I found myself smiling more than I had in years. But soon the teasing took on a different tone. His compliments became more direct, more personal. The way he'd tell me, "You're incredible, you know that," or "I don't think you realize how amazing you are." He started standing closer, his touches becoming more intentional. A hand on my waist as he passed me in the kitchen. A brush of his fingers along my arm during a quiet conversation. It was subtle at first, and I wasn't sure if I was imagining it. But one night, everything became crystal clear. We'd just finished dinner, the kind of night where the conversation had flowed effortlessly, full of laughter and connection. As we cleaned up, he reached out and gently brushed the hair from my face. "You deserve to feel loved again," he said, his voice soft but firm. I froze. His words were like a spark igniting something inside me that I hadn't felt in so long. There was a tenderness in his eyes that left me breathless. My heart raced and I didn't know what to say. That moment hung in the air, heavy with unspoken possibilities. That night I couldn't sleep. His words played over and over in my mind. What did he mean? Did he really see me that way? Or was I reading too much into it, and even more unsettling? How did I feel about it? As much as I tried to push it aside, I couldn't deny the truth. For the first time in years I felt alive, seen, wanted. And that realization was as exhilarating as it was terrifying. It happened on a stormy evening, the kind where the rain patters softly against the windows and the flickering candlelight makes the world outside feel distant. We had been talking for hours, sitting in the living room, a bottle of wine between us. Conversations like these had become our norm, discussing life, the things we'd lost and the hopes we still clung to. That night felt different, though. There was an intimacy in our words, a depth that went beyond the usual. He spoke about his dreams, his struggles, and how much he admired my strength. I don't think anyone had looked at me like that in years, with such intensity, such genuine care. Somewhere between his stories and mine, the space between us disappeared. His hand brushed against mine, and this time neither of us moved away. My heart pounded, each beat louder than the storm outside. I could feel the warmth of his presence, and for the first time I wasn't afraid of it. Then he leaned in. It was subtle at first, a slight tilt of his head, his eyes searching mine. I didn't pull away. I couldn't. It was as if all the doubts, all the questions melted away. In that moment his lips met mine and everything else faded. The guilt, the worry, the world outside. That night something inside me came alive. I felt desired, cherished in a way I hadn't in so long. His touch wasn't just physical, it was emotional, healing wounds I didn't even realize were there for those hours. I let myself feel. Let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, I deserve this happiness. But when the morning came, so did the questions. The guilt settled in like a shadow, creeping into my thoughts. Was this wrong? Was I betraying Michael memory, the love we had shared for so many years? And yet I couldn't deny what had happened that night. I felt alive again, and no matter how complicated it was, I couldn't bring myself to regret it. The next 6 months were like a dream I never wanted to wake up from. Hudson brought light and laughter into every corner of my life. Morning started with him in the kitchen, his messy hair and easy smile greeting me as he whipped up breakfast. He'd bring me coffee, often with a little flower from the garden, tucked next to the cup. Small gestures, but they meant everything. He'd surprise me constantly. Little notes left on the counter, a favorite song playing softly in the background when I came home, or a bouquet of flowers on a random Tuesday. It wasn't just the grand gestures. It was the thoughtfulness in every little thing he did. Our conversations were endless, flowing naturally from serious topics to silly jokes. We talk about the future, about dreams and possibilities, and then laugh about some ridiculous memory from the past. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a partner, someone who saw me, who understood me completely. But as blissful as those moments were, they weren't without their shadows. Late at night, when the house was quiet, doubts would creep in. What would people say if they knew? Could we ever truly have a future together? Or was this just a fleeting moment of happiness destined to unravel? There were days when those thoughts consumed me, making me question everything. I'd watch him as he worked on his laptop or prepared for his new job, and I'd feel a pang of guilt. He was young, with so much ahead of him. Was I selfish for holding on to him, for allowing this to happen? But then he'd look at me, his eyes filled with a kind of love and certainty that melted every doubt. When he reached for my hand or pulled me close, it felt like nothing else in the world mattered. In those moments, all the questions, the fears, and the guilt faded away. Still, there were times I wondered if we were living in a bubble, a beautiful, fragile bubble that could burst at any moment. But if that was the case, I told myself, then I'd cherish every second while it lasted, because for the first time in years I wasn't just existing. I was living. Hudson had a plan he believed would bring us both the happiness we deserved. One sunny afternoon he took me for a drive to the countryside. The rolling fields stretched out endlessly, the soft hum of the car, the only sound between us. When we stopped, he gestured toward a small, picturesque house nestled in a grove of trees. I've been thinking a lot about us. He began, his voice steady, but filled with a kind of nervous energy. We've had something amazing, something special, but maybe it's time we think about the future in a different way. I stared at him, unsure of what he meant. The words hung in the air for a moment before he continued. You deserve a real chance at love again, he said, turning to face me fully, someone who can give you everything, a husband, a family. I know how much you've given up, how much you've been through, and I think you should have that. His words stunned me, a husband, a family. The thought hadn't even crossed my mind in so long. I'd poured everything into this connection with Hudson, and now he was suggesting that I start over. But with someone else, I've been thinking about myself too. He admitted, his voice quieter. Now I need to start thinking about finding someone, settling down and starting a family of my own. The weight of what he was saying hit me like a wave. He wasn't talking about us anymore. He was talking about 3 separate futures, his and mine. I'll always love what we had, he added quickly, as if to soften the blow. But maybe this was meant to help us heal, to remind us what it feels like to be cared for, to feel alive again. My heart felt like it was caught in a storm. Part of me clung to the connection. We'd built the solace we'd found in each other. But another part, the part that loved him enough to want what was best for him, knew he might be right. Could I really let him go? Could I take his advice and start over knowing he was doing the same? The idea of a life apart felt almost unbearable, but so did the thought of holding him back from a future he deserved. I sat there alone, the house eerily quiet, staring at an old photo of Michael. The weight of everything hit me all at once. I had made choices that I never imagined I'd face, and now I felt lost, completely and utterly lost. Hudson was right. He deserved a future, a family of his own. And maybe I did too. But how? How do you start over when you've already crossed so many lines, made so many mistakes? I've always prided myself on being strong, on pushing through the toughest moments. But this was different. I had to admit it. I'd messed up somewhere along the way. I let myself believe that the comfort we found in each other could last forever. And now I didn't even know how to begin untangling the mess I created. The thought of facing the world, of hearing their opinions and judgments, felt unbearable. But I know some of you out there have been in situations where love wasn't black and white, where choices weren't simple. What would you do if you were in my shoes? I need your advice. How do you move forward when your heart is split in 3, when part of you wants to hold on, and the other knows it's time to let go? And to those watching, I know you'll have your opinions too. Some of you might say I should have known better, and maybe you're right. But I also know some of you will understand that love, real complicated love, doesn't always fit neatly into a box. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share your opinions in the comments below. And if this story has touched you in any way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means more to me than I can say. For now, all I can do is sit here staring at the sunset and hope that somewhere out there the answers will find me. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us craft more engaging stories for you.